welcome to the romance track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Martin, and today we are talking about summer romances and why they are so wonderful. But before we dive into the details, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Melody.
Hello, I'm Melody Johnson. I write paranormal and sci-fi romance, but my newest anthology, which is coming out on July 19th, is Romancing the Tropics, where I write one of my witchy business stories, but set on a tropical island.
That sounds perfect. Emily?
Hi, I'm Emily Leverett. I write paranormal historical romance, which is set in and around the court of Henry II, based on the life and writings of real-life nun Marie de France.
Okay, Belinda.
I'm Belinda McBride. I write paranormal science fiction. I dabble in Western, usually with a paranormal element, and most of my work is divided up between male-male and male-female. So I write on both sides of the track there.
Very good. BJ.
I'm BJ Allison from Nova Scotia, Canada. I write mostly contemporary romance, but I've also dabbled in the paranormal horror romance realm. And I'm soon celebrating the first year of my latest release, Honestly, which is book 3 of the Feathered Tartan series.
Very good. Nancy.
I'm Nancy Northcott. I write historical fantasy for Falstaff Books, and with Jeannie Adams, I write science fiction. In romance, I write The Light Mage Wars, paranormal romances, and romantic suspense.
And I'm Gail Martin, and Morgan Brice. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy, but as Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. So what's the best thing in your mind about falling in love in the summer? Melody?
Well, summer is my favorite season. So I absolutely love the beach. I love the weather. I love that feeling of, I think it comes from, back in your high school days when summer meant freedom. And something that happened in the summer could be fleeting, and it could be exciting and maybe no strings attached. So I love all of the heat, both in the summer and in the passion of summer romance.
Good enough. Emily?
I mean, it's summer, and depending on where you're setting it exactly, you're already starting out with fewer clothes, right? So there's less of the, how many layers do we have to get through? Well, not as many. And I think you also get to play with it feels temporary, because again, like summer vacation, like you can play with none of it feels real. I can be unusually irresponsible rather than the standard amount of irresponsible, those things.
How about you, Belinda?
I kind of agree with the other two. Summer is, there's a temporal element to it. We're used to going on summer vacation from school. Where I live, it gets so hot that we escape to the coast and spend time at the beach, which sounds a little odd, but the beach in Northern California is a cold beach. So it's a getaway. It's a fantasy time. You go back home and hopefully you take that fantasy with you.
Okay, BJ.
Hot summer nights.
Yeah.
Gotta love those hot summer nights, the romantic walks along the beach. Because my province has over 5,000 miles of coastline here, so the moonlight walks, love them. Those days when you're walking around the fairs, going on all the rides, that kind of thing is the kind of hot summer nights that you expect to see here in my area. Well, plus what everyone else said with the fewer clothes, the feeling of temporariness and all this other stuff. That's what I loved so much about romance in the summer.
Okay, and Nancy, your box on my screen traded places, so you're up next.
Oh, okay. I agree with what everybody has said, but also the summer has kind of, maybe it's just what we're used to from Hollywood. Maybe it's a combination of that, and experience is kind of sultry and things move slower. And there's this nice contrast between the heat around you and iced tea or homemade peach ice cream or cold watermelon. And so it's in its way, it's sensual in the opposite way of winter, because in the winter we go for hot stuff and in the summer we go for cool stuff. And those lovely walks that VJ mentioned, you're not wearing a parka and gloves when you take this walk. So it offers more chances for accidental contact to become purposeful contact and then to lead somewhere. And so I can't add anything else to what everybody else has said.
Well, I love what everybody else has said. One of the things I'd add is, when you've got those long summer evenings and the long summer twilight leading to the evening, and the sun seems to take forever to set, and then you have that twilight where the stars are coming out and the lightning bugs are coming out, and it's a little bit cooler maybe. That I have always thought was a magical time and an absolutely perfect time to steal a kiss, or pull somebody into the shadows and have a little fun when everybody can't see. But that the stars are so clear, and depending on where you live, sometimes you get a meteor shower, or sometimes you can see the northern lights, and that just adds to the magic. And what better to be out and about when there's magic in the air. So what are some of your stories that take place in the summer? And if you haven't written a summer story, what do you think your characters would be doing in the summer? Melody?
Well, the summer story I have coming out soon, it's the only one I actually have set in the summer, and which is funny since it's my favorite season. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. My characters are kind of like stranded on a desert island. I say kind of because they're filming a Survivor show. So they're stranded with their whole camera crew, doing crazy stunts and trying to win the grand prize. But unfortunately, the last two in the competition are also falling in love. So there's a little conflict of interest there. And that story is titled Spelled for Survivor.
Okay, Nancy.
My Light Mage Wars romance is the only one that's out that's set in the summer is Renegade Mage, and that's set in August and early September in southern Georgia. So it's quite warm there and humid. It's also an action adventure romance. So at first there's a lot of on the run stuff in the hot weather, and it's not really so much basking as it is kind of recovering and getting closer to each other as they learn more about each other and spend more time together, because it's kind of it's an enemies to lovers romance. And so we don't start right off with a high level of trust and closeness, but as that develops, the summer weather matters to their tactics in dealing with their situation, because it's warm outside, it's summer, people are out and about, and sometimes you don't want people to be out and about. So it's not so much that summer affects the romance as summer affects the story, which the romance takes place within. And as for what Val and Griff would normally be doing in the summer, they would normally be on the beach at Cumberland Island National Seashore, because that's in that part of the country, and they would be having picnics and a cold beer. But first they have to solve this problem.
Very good. Emily?
I have stories that are set in summer, but it doesn't affect the romance as much, since my main romance is set in England. Summer to them doesn't mean the same thing as it does to me. I grew up in Central California, and that would kill people in Britain in the Middle Ages. So I can definitely say, since the main character Blaze is a werewolf, what he would be doing is shedding. There would be a lot of shedding all over, so much wolf hair all over the place all the time. And so, which is a reason possibly for him to get himself together so that he doesn't have to spend the 3 days a week as a wolf that he does in the story, because that's in the source material, and figure out how just to be a naked person rather than a person wrapped in a fur coat.
That would be a lot of incentive. Belinda?
I was sitting here trying to think of what I've written set in summer. I tend to put things in the autumn and the winter, but I have written a couple of summer themed stories. One I actually wrote in the middle of a forest fire. We were up here having a big forest fire, and I live near Shasta Dam, and I drove up to Shasta Dam, and I just sat one night. It was July 4th, and of course there's no fireworks because there's fires, and just watching this land that I grew up with burning. And I came back and wrote a short story about a firefighter. It's called Panther Meadow, about a firefighter who gets lost in a fire and is rescued by a panther in Panther Meadow, panther shifter. My current work in progress, it should be released next month, is it's a paranormal male, and it is about a group of young Omega shifters who broke out on their own. They left, they don't have alphas in their pack. They are their pack, and they're in dire straits. And so another pack is helping them out of obligation. And what they're discovering about these young men and women is they've never been to the beach. They've never gone out skateboarding. They didn't grow up like a normal life, and they live in a beach town. So a big part of the story and the kind of the crux of the romance, or when the romance takes off, is when the hero takes one of the other young men, the other heroes, out to the beach to shift as a wolf and run on the beach without being confined into a yard. And I set that at night. So they're under the full moon. It's balmy weather. There are palm trees, and they're running on the beach. And I love that imagery. I'm originally from Southern California, so I love going back and feeling that weather again, and feeling the sunshine that isn't like hurting you.
Okay.
That's what I'm working on now.
EJ?
I have actually two that are set in summer. Under Your Scars, which is set here locally on the South Shore of Nova Scotia. During this time of year, it starts out, and the characters actually go to the South Shore exhibition, which is our local big fair on the South Shore. And they go on the zipper, and unbeknownst to her, he's terrified of heights. So that's a bit of a kerfuffle. I thought it was a nice twist on the story that she was like helping him out when he was like freaking out over the height and everything. I hate heights, and I don't blame the guy. And the romance continues for the rest of the summer and into the fall. So I thought that was a nice addition. And my most recent release, honestly, came out last year. It's an LGBT one. She's pansexual. He's a trans man. And that takes place up in Annapolis Valley along the Bay of Fundy, which is the highest shore tides in the world. And Annapolis Royal is a gorgeous town. I want to move up there eventually, but I don't see it happening ever. But we love the town. So hubby suggested I set a story there, and I chose that one. And they go to Blomidon Beach, which is up on the eastern part of the Bay of Fundy in the Minas Basin, to view the tides. And they travel across, up and down the Annapolis Valley on the Fundy shore, and walks on the beach, that kind of thing. He even proposes to her on the beach. I just had to include the Bay of Fundy all through that story because I love that place so much. I don't know. There was just something magical about having a romance happen on the Bay of Fundy in the middle of the summer. And that's how that one came about. I thought it was just perfect.
I've been there. It's a beautiful place. I can see that now.
It's one of my favorite places in the world.
Well, two of my series are, two of my Morgan Brice series are set in tourist attraction towns, beach towns. So Badlands is set in Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, And one of the main characters is a psychic. He owns Grand Strand Ghost Tours, which is right there on the boardwalk where he does ghost tours and psychic readings. And the other guy is a skeptical homicide detective who doesn't believe in all this woo-woo until he gets stuck on a case and needs help. And of course, you know, they fall in love. But the summer is prime season there. So Simon's up to his neck in tourists on the boardwalk when he isn't helping with police investigations. And unfortunately, more people usually means more murders. So Vic is busy at work as well. And then in Treasure Trail, that's set in another beach town, Cape May, New Jersey, a bit further north. But you've got a shopkeeper who owns a shop where they get dangerous and haunted objects out of the wrong hands. He used to be an art fraud investigator. And another guy who's a burned out ex-Newark cop who has inherited the family's rental real estate business. And they end up running into an awful lot of mafia ghosts because Cape May is just down the strip from Atlantic City. And they're finding out where all the bodies are buried. So that makes for kind of a lively summer. And then the series that ties into this, Deadly Curiosities, is set in Charleston, yet again, another tourist attraction. So they're just up to their eyeballs in tourists all summer. And oh yes, things like demons and monsters and ghosts. Oh my. So mindful of keeping it PG-13, what's maybe the sexiest thing your characters have done or thought about? And if not your characters, you, in the summer, what has been, what do you think of as being extremely romantic? Melody?
My characters have a little less, I would say, straightforward romance on their adventure. They're a little bit more trying to survive together and also compete against one another. But that being said, there is a moment when they are supposed to be racing down, like rappelling down the cliff to the final prize toward the end. And my heroine has always been terrified of heights ever since she's like a rich socialite, and she plays like a ditz on TV, but she's not really one in real life. It's just like her persona. But the one thing she can't do is, after her accident, go rappelling. And of course, that's the final challenge. And so in the midst of freaking out, the hero does something unexpected that is hugely romantic for her. I don't want to give it away because it's toward the end, but a big grand gesture on the top of a cliff, and I was very thrilled for her.
Okay. Nancy?
Well, in my Arachnid File series, I forgot for a minute that I actually do have one of those that's set in the summer, and it's called Worth the Wait, and it's a second chance at love story. And the hero's family owns a farmhouse with a pond behind it. And his best friend from high school is in the habit of bringing his kids over, and they all hang around the pond. And, you know, the hero's parents have brought in some sand because in Eastern North Carolina, unless you're at the beach, you don't have sand. You have to acquire sand. And so they have a sandy beach put up. And the hero is, for the first time, really allowing himself to notice the heroine in her bathing suit, and she is noticing him. And so it's not so much what they do as the awareness between them and the sexual attraction between them. When they knew each other before, he was dating her sister, and there was an attraction between them, but being decent people, they both went, no, not going there. And now her sister is deceased and he's back in town. But it's also a secret baby romance, which complicates things too, because really when you're on a beach with children of various ages wandering around, it puts a limit on what you can do.
This is true. Emily?
In my Ice Fog Chronicles series, which is a contemporary fantasy about a human woman that goes to fairy, in the fourth book, which is Summer's Regent, which will be out, in the fifth book, A Queen for All Seasons, which will be out hopefully by the end of next year. The fourth one should be out by the end of this year. The main character Dior, goes swimming in a lagoon at the palace of Rafe, who is the other lead of the story, she believes he's not going to be home. It's his sort of own private space. And he and decides he needs to go for a swim. And in fairy, they tend to be a lot more, you're swimming, why would you swim with clothes on? And it's this enclosed space, and she's got her giant hound with her, who very much wants to get in the water, but she won't let him get in the water because he will bring half the sand with him back into the house. And she likes all the servants in the house and would like them to continue to like her. So she tells her dog, no, you can't. And he doesn't like that. She dives in and just loves the water. She too grew up in California and was a beach family. And when he gets down there, he is startled to find her there, and she is just floating with her eyes closed, and her dog is hysterically barking. So he assumes that something is very wrong and jumps in and rescues her while she is basically without clothes in the water. And as soon as he realizes she is in fact fine and floating, as she explains, I have in fact been equipped with flotation devices because she is rather well endowed. It would be very hard for her to drown. He, of course, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but it functions as a kind of re-meet cute, if that makes sense, because they've known each other a long time, but have been apart for a while, and sort of restarts a possible romance with them.
Okay. Belinda.
Oh, I'm thinking of a few of them. I did an urban fantasy, male urban fantasy featuring Greek gods. And this story actually bounces around from location to season. And the lead in it is Eros. And his love interest is a young human man who he doesn't know has been sent to apprehend him by his mother, Aphrodite. They have several beach scenes as their love story goes on. And, it was funny because I was just thinking, this kind of just like is a theme through that story. It bounces, you start into like Tahiti or Bali or someplace like that. And they end up on this island off the coast of Turkey. And the first scene, they're walking, and there's a lot of angst related to this. Eros is undergoing a lot of pain, and he's been trying to attain a goal that he's not going. He's trying to find Psyche. He's trying to rekindle his love with Psyche. He found her, and it's not going to work. And so they're walking on the beach, and he's a little drunk, and Brice decides to just jump in the water and go swimming, and naked, and at first he's just like, oh my gosh, and it was like his entire world just shifted from, I've been chasing this woman, this great love of my past, and this is my future swimming away from me. And at the end of the story, again, lots of angst, except it's reversed. It's now Brice, and he's hidden away. He's hidden away on a magical island. And Eros has finally tracked him there. And so they have their reunion on the water, next to the water. And water is a very important theme in this story. And I was just thinking about they're being in the water together, swimming together, sitting next to the beach, in paralleling that first scene when they're apart, and then coming back when they're coming together. And it's a very romantic. It's under the stars. It's soft, warm water. It's very lovely. I think I must want to go on a beach vacation or something.
That works. BJ?
Oh my, so many. I mean, beach. You're looking at Nova Scotia, 5,000 miles of coastline here. There's beaches everywhere you look. Just in my area, I grew up on 3 beaches down in Petite Riviere. But goodness, I'm just trying to think. Well, like I said earlier, honestly, Avery, the gent, he proposes to Dana on the beach, right where they had their first kiss and everything. And I'm not going to say where they get married, but you guys can probably guess. And oh my goodness, pretty much every story I have has some kind of focus on like the shore somehow. I think the only one that doesn't have is Way to Me. But I mean, in Stricken, there's Ewan and Marty. They get into an argument on Queensland Beach, which is in Halifax County, and that's when they start to clue in that yeah, there's something going. There's still something here. That one's a second chance. Goodness. I'm thinking. I don't have quite as many as other people do, but there is at least probably at least one beach scene in pretty much every book I have, minus Way to Me and Sweet Child of Mine are the only two that don't have a beach scene in them. Because the beaches in this area, like I'm 15 miles from the shore here. In Nova Scotia, you're never more than 45 miles away from the shore. So of course it's going to feature quite a bit, but I mean, pretty much every chapter or every other chapter of honestly features some, like at least talking about the shore, the tides, getting photos of them, or like how magnificent they are, and how Dana is like, she moved originally from Alberta down here to be with her cousin, and how much she wants to stay in Nova Scotia because she loves it here so much. Alberta's landlocked. So I guess that's about, goodness, I can't think of just one scene. It's too many to list.
Okay. Well, and you know, one of my favorites is surprisingly also a favorite of my characters, and that is taking a long walk on a moonlit beach, the moon on the water and listening to the ocean, and then fireworks. I will never turn down fireworks. I will always stop for fireworks. And if you have fireworks next to a moonlit beach, that's even better. So that shows up a lot in my books because that shows up a lot on my vacations, even if I have to drag everybody with me. We are going to see the fireworks. So yeah, I think that's just incredibly fun and romantic and beautiful. And, you know, if you can't hold hands and turn to your favorite person and give them a kiss while the fireworks are going off, well, you're just missing something. So what is your favorite summertime food, and bonus points if it can be sexy? Melody?
I would have to say, I absolutely love ice cream. There is just something about after a long day on the beach, and then, you know, all the sun and the rays, and then coming off and getting something nice and cool to cool off. And I suppose sharing an ice cream cone could be a little sexy, or maybe watching someone eat their ice cream cone, especially you know, someone you're interested in. But I fail. I am not a good ice cream cone eater. I always get a cup. I can't eat fast enough. And so it's usually a complete disaster if I have my ice cream in a cone. So ice cream in a cup for me.
Okay. Nancy?
Watermelon. And I don't mean watermelon like we're going to have it after dinner tonight, cut up into cubes in a bowl. I mean watermelon eaten outside at a picnic table, and it's a wedge, and you hold it in your two hands and eat it down. And the problem with genetically modified watermelon is it doesn't have spittable seeds. And so seed spitting contests are just fun. But the other thing about watermelon is it dribbles. And so that's an excuse to touch the other person. You got a little watermelon juice. Let me just get that for you. And it gets on you, and it's sticky, and people start laughing together and bumping each other. And if you want to be more than friends, the bumping is perhaps a little less casual. But I really love watermelon.
Okay. Emily?
Where I grew up in the summer, and now I see these places and they're open year round, but they used to do what, like I said, when I was a kid, was called Hawaiian shaved ice, right? That are basically just slushies. But just the fresh ice like snow. And this is from a person who grew up where it does not snow. I did not see snow in person until I drove to it when I was a teenager. Like now that I live in a place where snows sometimes, but basically the consistency of snow and covered in a sugar syrup that's flavored, like none of that could possibly be good for you. Probably when I was little, it had the bad red number 5 in it, right? And but still, like, it's cold when it's so hot, and it's fun to eat, and fun because, like a lot of things in summer, it's just a limited experience, right? Like it's only open a few hours a day, a few weeks a year. And you can get different flavors and feed them to each other and all of that sort of stuff. And it's both a sort of innocent kid-like thing and cannot be too. But I think that that's probably my favorite summer thing.
Especially when it turns your tongue funny colors.
Right.
Yep. Belinda?
I'm going with watermelon. Where I live, we have routine triple digit summers. And when I was a kid, I can remember 126 degrees. And we didn't have quite as good air conditioning as we do now. And so when you've got a bunch of miserable kids or your teen or whatever, you go up to Lake Shasta or you go up to Whiskeytown Lake and you haul that watermelon along and you shove it down into a big bucket of ice. Or we'd head to the mountains and you'd drop it down into Clear Creek and it would sit there for a couple hours and chill. And same thing, cut it up into wedges, cut it up into chunks, whatever, it gets thrown. You have yellow jackets buzzing around you trying to get the sweet syrup. You're rushing into the water to get the syrup or the juice off you, to get the bees away from you, whatever. It's just hysterically fun. And I think about it when I was a kid, and then I think about it when I was a teenager, and it was quite a bit different. Quite a bit different. And yes, you can do sensory play with it. You can do messy play with it. There was a place we used to go swimming with less than what we should have been wearing. And watermelon was up there too, and it was being tossed around and stuff. So that's my favorite. I can't get away from it.
Okay. PJ?
Strawberries. The South Shore, Nova Scotia loves their strawberries. You can feed them to each other. You can dip them in whipped cream, feed them to each other. And I don't know, strawberries just scream summertime to me because there's so many local farms around here and up in the Annapolis Valley that produce the best strawberries in the world, in my opinion. And I mean, like, they're so popular down here that they have strawberry shortcake suppers for like fundraisers for like the fire departments, various charities and stuff like that. And I tell you something, there's nothing like a South Shore, Nova Scotia strawberry shortcake. It is the absolute most heavenly thing in the world. I grew up eating strawberry shortcake. My mom still loves it to this day. God love her. She always insists every strawberry season she's got to have her strawberry shortcake. But I mean, like, for me, it's just picking the strawberries meant summer. And I'm gonna give a second one here, Moon Mist ice cream. It's a Nova Scotia delicacy. And yeah, like Melody, I have to eat mine out of a cup because I'm so messy. So, but yeah, strawberries and Moon Mist ice cream scream summer to me because that's what I would always get at the campground was Moon Mist ice cream when we went camping when I was a kid.
Oh, what kind of ice cream are you saying? I'm not quite catching that.
Moon Mist, MOON Mist. It's
what is Moon Mist ice cream?
What?
What is Moon Mist ice cream for those who didn't grow up where you did?
Bubblegum. It's 3 flavors mixed together: bubblegum, banana, and grape. And I don't like grape flavoring, but it's just so, and it's just amazing. It's just perfect. It's so pretty too. The colors are just amazing. I'll have to send you the link. It was developed here in Nova Scotia. And to me, between strawberries and Moon Mist ice cream, that's summer. That was summertime as a kid for me. And you can use both as an adult too, in, you know, spicy way, if you get my meaning.
No, I love ice cream too, but you know, popsicles and freeze pops. And freeze pops that I'm thinking of are the ones in the thin plastic that you squish up from the bottom. they're wonderful when you're a kid. They're great on a summer day. But if you're with somebody that you're romantically interested in, it's also really possible to add all kinds of nuance to the way you eat those. And there are double popsicles that have two handles, so they're perfect for sharing. And so, and you can cause all kinds of naughty ideas by the way you eat those, and don't even get me started on frozen bananas. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for innuendo with popsicles and freeze pops, as well as ice cream cones. So, go for it. It's summer. Well, we have, as usual, run through our hour, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to give everybody a chance to talk about your upcoming, recent, or new book, and also tell us where to find you online, starting with Melody.
You can find me at authormelodyjohnson.com. That's my website. I'm also really active on social media, particularly Facebook, Instagram, and I'm dipping into TikTok. I have my Nightblood series, which is paranormal romance, my Love Beyond series, which is sci-fi romance. That's my newest series. But coming out on July 19th is Romancing the Tropics anthology with my Spelled for Survivor tropical romance. It's I think it's romance number 6 in my Witchy Business series.
Very good. Nancy?
My latest release is The King's Champion, the 3rd volume in my Boar King's Honor historical fantasy trilogy, completes the trilogy. My next romance release will be Magic and Murder, which is a Light Mage Wars, Enemies to Lovers romance novella, and that will be out later in the summer. You can find me at nancynorthcott.com. On social media, I'm one of the holdouts who's still on Twitter, where I'm at Nancy Northcott, and I spend more time there than I do on Facebook or anywhere else. I have a Facebook author page, but I'm not highly active there. So if you want to interact with me, Twitter's better.
Okay. Emily?
You can find me at Emily Leverett or emilylavinleverett.com. There you can find all my books and books I've edited and scholarship that I do on the Middle Ages. The end of this year, the 4th book in the Icefog Chronicles, Summer's Regent, should be out. And also An Honorable Love, which is the 4th and last book in the Wolf and the Nun, Marie de France series, at least the last book in this arc. I expect that there will be more stories coming, but those should both be out by the end of the year. And then A Queen for All Seasons, the last book in the Icefog Chronicles, should be out by the end of next year.
Awesome. Belinda?
You can find me at belindamcbride.com, but that site is actually under construction still. So you're just going to find a "something great is coming" sign up on that one. You can find me on Facebook. I'm pretty active on Facebook. I have a TikTok presence. My latest book, most recent book, it actually was like last year, I think. Let's see if I can get a picture of it.
Cool.
That is it's The Witch Taker. It's a paranormal Western set in the 1800s, post-Civil War. It's set in the Redwood Forest of Northern California. And it actually kind of ties into this because one of the heroes comes up the Central Valley and then heads west to the Redwood Forest. And he's going from the bold, brutal summers of the Central Valley to the coast and meets his hero in the Redwoods. And that is my newest. The one I will be releasing this summer is called Accidental Alpha. It's going to be the first series in a series of Omegaverse books called the Omega Academy. And I tend to write things a little, I interpret things myself, make my own rules. So it's about, like I said earlier, it's about a group of Omegas who have decided to make their own way in the world, and with a little bit of help here and there. And so it's been quite fun to play with that. My other better known series, the Arcada books, which is Black and Blue, Silver Steel, Fire Ice. My uncommon,
I hear cat.
say this word, my uncommon horror series, which is Helios the King, When I Fall, The Prince of Faith, the Bacchae, And I will be working on sequels to both of those series. And then I also have male female series, Belle Star, which is kind of an extension from the Uncommon Horror series, and the Truckee Wolves, which are mostly menage, male female menage.
Very good. BJ.
You can find me on Facebook. I'm like Nancy, I'm on Twitter. I see her there all the time. I'm on TikTok, believe it or not. I actually have 2 videos up there of my cat. I have a Facebook page, which is quite active a lot. Goodness, I'm on MeWe, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on so many places. Ecstasy Books and Decadent Publishing, I'm on 2 of them. I'm on both sites there. And I'm on Blogger, Word Processor, Romance, Cats, Kids, and Creed is my blog title. And I write under my pen name here, BJ Allison. My latest release was Honestly, which I don't know how well you can see it. It's a recipient of the Ecstasy Books Editor's Choice Seal, which was a really big surprise. And it's available at Ecstasy Books. And if you want print on demand, you can go to Amazon. That's Feather Tartan 3, Feather Tartan 1 Stricken, and book 2 Sweet Child of Mine are also available on pretty much anywhere you can get. Under Your Skirts and Away to Me are also available pretty much anywhere. You have to go through, it's ebook only for Eternity's Gamble via Decadent. And currently I'm working on Feather Tartan 4, which is an extremely spicy short story novella that takes place after a tragedy happens in the Campbell family. And that happens during Honestly, actually. It's the catalyst for what happens towards the end of the book. So, but that's it.
Okay. I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbrice.com. I'm on pretty much all of the social medias under one or both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. Midsummer Mischief at Canham Castle is one new release that it's a collection of novellas by a variety of authors, all set in the same shared world fictional castle and town, edited by Nancy. And that was a lot of fun. Point Blank is also my newest Morgan release, and coming up in August, there will be Roustabout, which is part of the multi-author shared world Carnival of Mysteries series. So plenty of good stuff coming up. Well, thank you to all of our wonderful panelists, and thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more romance coming up on Continual, so we'll see you online.